Okay, good morning. So, all of you should have your black ink on colored paper, or maybe you had colored ink at home, or you did a collage. This is my example from earlier today. Um, if you used all of the color paper to do printing, then you're going to pick your favorite one for the front cover and maybe use a different one for the back cover. That would probably, in this case, go this way. But because I have extra paper, I'm just going to use this as my front cover and instead a blank piece of paper for the back cover. Maybe you don't like the other prints and maybe your best print was one of your test prints. If that's the case, in this case, I'm going to go ahead and cut this down to size. Ideally, you want your cover to be a cardstock or a heavier weight paper. But for Japanese bookbinding, it almost really doesn't matter. So I'm going to just show you how I could use this if I wanted to instead for my front cover design. It's totally up to you. You can even go in there with colored pencils and all that good stuff. All right, so in your art kit, you're going to find a stack of computer paper pre-cut down. So what I want to do is I'm going to put my artwork, my final cover on the outside, on the front. And because this is horizontal, I'm going to put my holes here along the left. If your image is vertical, then you're going to put them along the top. So it's always going to be on that short end is how you're going to bind it. And then you're going to have your back cover on the back. We're going to ignore that. If you have a paper clip would be ideal, or a binder clip or something just to hold these pages stacked together. Because what I want to do now is draw some dots here where I'm going to make my holes so that tomorrow I can bind it. Now, usually I would use a marker, but because this is black ink and depending on your image, you might not be able to see. So I'm going to use the chalk as well. Whatever works for your image is what you want to do. What I'm going to do is from the corner, I'm going to go in about, and you can see on my grid here, I'm going to go about a half an inch in and a half an inch down. And I'm just eyeballing this. So even at the bottom here, let me move this up. If these lines here were to intersect, they're going to intersect right there. You can use a ruler if you want, but now I need to do two more dots somewhere in between. If you use a ruler, it's going to be about an inch apart. And again, I'm using these lines on my grid. If they're not exactly an inch, that's okay. I'm not obviously not going to grade that part. But now I can see my chalk or the dots. Now we have a nail in our kit that we use to do the scratch art. And at the beginning of the year, we used to do our bookbinding. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold this nail down on one of those holes and carefully pull just that cover page up to create my hole. And the pages underneath is what's kind of cushioning. But if you are nervous about marking up your table or your desk, I would highly recommend getting a piece of cardboard. And you can see here all these holes that I poked when I was testing this out. So I could even put that underneath there and just go ahead and just hold that in place. So I'm holding the nail. I'm not doing anything but just holding it in place while I pull the paper through it. This is going to prevent you from stabbing yourself because I know a lot of students like to do this. They'll take the page and then they'll hold it up and they'll do that. You can do that, but because you're home, I can't watch you and make sure that you're being safe about it. I don't want anyone stabbing themselves with a nail. So now that I've gone through my cover, what you can do is just do one at a time and just keep going through stacking it and making sure they're neatly stacked and just keep going through the hole to make sure these holes are aligned. If you have a hole puncher, you can use a hole puncher, although usually those holes are really quite large. You can try to maybe take a few pages to stack through. And again, I just keep stacking and maybe I'll paper clip here. Whatever you need to do to get through these. I just wouldn't try to do all of them together because you're definitely going to hurt yourself. Usually when we do these live in the classroom, we have a drill and we drill through all of it at once. I would definitely not recommend doing that at home because it definitely gets messy. And I'm going to pause this for a moment. Okay, so now I've gone through all my pages, my front cover design, my back cover, and all my pages. I just have my nail on there just to make sure that they all line up. And I've done all the holes. So now my binder clip is in place so I can remove that nail and I'm ready to sew because my holes are ready to go. The last thing you're going to do today before we bind tomorrow is to tangle this string. Or if you have embroidery string, I could use green because that might look nice, or whatever color I have at home. If you still have embroidery string, you could use yarn or any other string for that matter. I just think the yarn might start to get thick. So I'm going to use my embroidery needle. So just a review, if you still have your threader, let me just do it so you guys can see here. You put that needle threader through the needle. And again, you don't, if you can just thread the needle without this, that's fine. I just like this because it's a great, easy way to pull that through. And this is all you need to post on Discord is your needle threaded and your book with the holes in it clipped together so that you're ready to go.